Hey everyone, welcome to the Huddle. It's Thursday, one more day till Friday, and we are at day 2 of State of the Union headlines. The theme is always be selling. Yesterday on the show, when we talked about the State of the Union and went through all these different angles, the content, the politics, etc., Sean said to me that the most important question was, what's next? What is his party going to do to take this energy and go out on the campaign trail and try to make something of it when it comes to the midterms? We are starting to see exactly what Republicans are looking at to try to do that. Again, big question is, will it change anything? Are the midterms already baked? But we'll see. It's early. It really is. We're also going to talk today about the White House contemplating how to navigate what is looking like an increasingly likely strike on Iran. We'll talk about the latest Epstein headlines, a whole bunch going on today with lawmakers interviewing Hillary Clinton, new headlines surrounding Bill Gates, Larry Summers, and of course, the president himself. We'll talk about GOP's MAHA anxieties in this sort of pivot from a focus on vaccines to very much a focus on food because of some of the concerns Republicans have about the former. We'll talk about this report that has the right up in arms right now about the FBI getting Susie Wiles' phone records during one of its probes in the Biden administration. Apparently, she is shocked about this and has told people such. But first, welcome home, Sean. Long trip for you, long week for you, but you're finally back, and we've got the flowers behind you. Are you
still looking good? Flowers still amazing. They just never go out of bloom.
It's good. I mean, it's just amazing what you do to keep those things fresh.
Yeah.
Good fertilizer.
Look, I had as I mentioned, a great chat with the realtors. It was fun because it was an opportunity to hear about like how the economy is doing all throughout the country, right? California, Colorado, Idaho, but I'm not the spring chicken I once was. Going to the West Coast, getting up 3 mornings in a row, doing this thing. And by the way, can I just say, I'll leave it at this because, Dan made this comment a couple mornings ago where he said, where are you getting your coffee? And we talked about how I had gone down and preset it. I texted them. There's this viral video of this influencer named, I think, Terrell Woodall, talking about how she cleans certain undergarments in hotel coffee makers. And I had mentioned that I didn't have a coffee maker and I had to go pre-buy all my stuff so I'd be ready at 4 a.m. And let's just say this. I'll leave it at, if you Google that, you'll know why maybe it was a blessing I didn't have a coffee maker.
Oh my God. That was such a weird story, Sean. I was like, I don't even know.
But it's gone viral. It's funny. I literally was like, it's how like sometimes you can't unsee something. I cannot unthink that. And I don't know that I can ever use a hotel coffee maker again. It was,
for those who are not following, it was a story suggesting this woman cleaned her underwear in a coffee maker while she travels. We're going to move on from that.
Just say, I love the internet, and it's one of the greatest entertainment
sources. But the funny part is, you saw, if you read the story, the hotel people obviously were calling saying, I stayed at that hotel. That's disgusting. Like, they issued refunds and they changed out every coffee maker. This is not some like low end. I mean, it was a decent hotel as far as I can tell. I mean, I can't imagine the cost of that. I get the idea of like viral hacks and, things you do on the move. Like, as I said, I went and pre-bought my coffee. Like there's things you do when you're traveling to get ahead of the curve or do whatever. But like that, like to me, I'm honestly like, anyway, I just say I'm glad to be home with a coffee maker, knowing what I did with it, knowing that, my wife and I are the only ones who've ever touched it.
All right. Well, let's move back to politics. Today's daybook, Netflix CEO. The Netflix CEO is going to be heading to the White House to discuss the Warner Brothers bid. This is going to be an interesting series of meetings, maybe one half damage control, given that Susan Rice obviously caused this huge kerfuffle. Just a couple of days ago, White House called on him to get rid of her. The CEO says he's not going to, but clearly he's got to go and, make amends because he wants to have this,
I think this is way bigger than that now.
Yeah.
This is a case study, the Ellisons, in grinding down your opponent in Washington. Netflix is going to lose. Paramount is going to win. And they absolutely it's a masterclass in under the radar, not even under the radar, in kind of big boy lobbying.
But Dan, this. You're the lobbyist for this. Play this out for me 1 second. I'm serious. She says this stuff. I thought your analysis was right from the jump, which is, hey, you know the deal. You can't do this. Of course. Yeah, absolutely. What is it that you, so Serenos is going to the White House and he doubled down already. I'm not firing her.
Yeah.
You walk in and they go, I'm sure it's, staff, not the president. Or what is it you say? Hey guys, like, I know I double, like, what would you have, now you get in the car, the CEO is traveling to the White House. What is it that you say to him after he's doubled down now?
Well, I think the issue, look, I think where they're getting ground down is, so you had a bunch of Republican attorney generals write letters on this idea of concentration of power, that it's too much. Netflix market share is too big already, that you're giving. I mean, it's everything, right? I mean, Susan Rice is a piece of this, but all of the, I mean, go back to David Ellison has been to the White House, been on Capitol Hill almost every single week. He is constantly, he is making sure money is going into people's pockets. Again, it's all, donations. It's all perfectly legal, but Netflix, I think, just was unprepared for how badly the Ellisons want it and how well the Ellisons' tentacles extend throughout Washington.
Yeah, okay, but I don't want to dwell on this, but go back to the question. You're in the car with him. He's pulling up to the White House. He's just doubled down on her. What is it that you say when you get? Is it, hey, this is just business, baby? If
you were going to do that and you're not going to get rid of Susan Rice, what you do is what Meta did, which is you say, look, I have 2 more board seats coming open soon, and I am going to work with you to make sure that, just like they put who is it, Logan Paul on the Meta board, and you elevate what's her name, who's the new president, David McCormick's wife. Yeah. I mean, you just make sure that they know we're on the team and we're going to work with you, but we're not going to give you this scalp.
Well, we clearly should have made this a topic, because I actually have even more questions too. But we should move on. And by the way, though, if you just got rid of her, there could be blowback too on that. Like, this is just not, it's not easy to just be like, you're fired. But I don't know. We should make this a topic, maybe tomorrow or the next
Maybe
day.
Media Monday.
Maybe Media Monday. Okay, House Democrats, they have their planning retreat. That will continue. We'll see if the headlines coming out of the Clinton depositions sort of upend that. Will be interesting.
I would just say, yeah. Oh, well, I'll save it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to get back into that for sure. The vice president is headed to, is it Plover, Wisconsin, to speak about the administration's accomplishments as part of, again, the campaign to sell. Post State of the Union at 11 o'clock. The president's going to be receiving his intelligence briefing. 3 o'clock, he has private meetings in the Oval Office. And I just want to, just a quick housekeeping note before we jump in. Everyone should do me a favor right now. Go to our YouTube page at the DC Huddle and subscribe. It's free. It helps us a bunch. If you have already done it, give us a like and we will applaud you for it very much. Thank you for all your support. Let's do a quick word from our sponsor, Cozy Earth. Sean is back home, so now he has access to his Cozy Earth. The number one lesson you learned while traveling, Sean, right? Was
number one lesson I learned. But even more importantly, not do you just learn your lesson, you take your medicine. I got home, 5-hour flight, et cetera, et cetera. I literally went upstairs, grabbed my Cozy Earth pajamas and put them on. And I got my joggers out for today. I was like, lesson learned. It was like being away from, your something for a while. I was like, this is my comfort food. Too late to eat, but I'm putting on that Cozy Earth pajamas. And I mean, the cool part is, like, whatever it is that they've got something for everyone. They've got socks, they've got towels, and everything that I've given to somebody or used myself, it's like, where was this my whole life? Like, so that's the cool part about Cozy Earth is that, I mean, we've even talked about the candles. They got socks. They got comforters. There is nothing that you can get from Cozy Earth where you're not going to go, that just made my life better, more comfortable, more enjoyable. That was the best gift I ever gave. I'm telling you, we talked about this during the holiday season, folks. If you can't figure out what to get that person, bubble cuddle blanket, comforter, candle, socks, anything from Cozy Earth, and you will be a hit. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use our code Huddle, 20% off site-wide.
Thanks to Cozy Earth. Okay, let's talk about day 2 of the State of the Union. we are starting to get a sense of how Republicans are going to try to use that speech to energize their base and help themselves in the midterms. This conservative group, American Sovereignty, launched their first TV ad seizing on that viral moment we talked a lot about yesterday when the president goaded Democrats on immigration. Take a listen.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. These people are crazy.
And for those of you who are listening to this podcast, not watching it, it very much showed all these Democrats sitting down while Republicans were staring up, cheering that statement. It's going to be a 7-figure ad campaign that's going to run in swing states, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, and potentially other places. Sean, I want to start with you on this because even top White House advisors have said, as recently as last week when they were at the Capitol Hill Club, that when it comes to the border, when it comes to, stopping illegal immigration, et cetera, that this is no longer the potent issue it was that helped Republicans get elected in 2024. I mean, James Blair, the reporting indicated from that meeting, said, let's not focus on that. Let's focus on these other things. Do you think that with an ad like this, with a viral moment like this, can Republicans actually bring that back as an issue for voters? Or is this just going to, again, rally the base, but not really help with those independents?
Yeah, so there's a couple things here. One, there's a difference between border security and immigration writ large. Part of what that was is to remind people of the threat that illegal immigration poses, whether it's crime, drugs, jobs. For a lot of people, it manifests itself in different ways. Like the illegals take the jobs in my town. They bring drugs into my town, whatever it is. But the idea was to do that. The second and the bigger thing that ad does is it draws, you remember the issue that Trump closed with in the campaign. Kamala Harris, she's with they, them, we're with you, right? It wasn't a trans ad. It was about the distinction of who you support. That ad, which again is just basically, in my opinion, a template for going forward, is drawing the distinction going forward, going into the midterms, that we stand for you, we're fighting for you. These guys are fighting for somebody else. So I don't see that as an immigration ad and an immigration message as much as a contrast between which party is fighting for whom.
Dan, Democrats have responded to this by saying, look, I'm not going to participate in political stunts. Is that enough to ward off an attack like this? And how concerned are Democrats about this moment that has been viral?
It's been viral on the right, and they're not concerned whatsoever because
really?
Here's the thing. Yeah. So let me ask you guys, what is the number one issue in polls by a factor of 10, particularly with the voters that matter that Trump has lost? It's the economy. Right. No one's talking about a single thing with the economy today whatsoever.
But that goes back to what I just said, though.
So now I'll get to the ad, to Sean's point, which is a really smart point about kind of who's with you and who's not, right? That is a great 2024 ad. The problem is in every single district now. So even if you want to move past what happened in Minnesota, which most Americans have lodged firmly in their head, every single story, not every single story, but a lot of stories in Red America, Blue America is about the impact of ICE raids on local communities, the local construction site, the local restaurant, on and on. And what is it in Red America? It's very quiet, not in my backyard. Go get them somewhere else, right? So Republicans are on back foot in local campaigns saying, look at Susan Collins. Don't do this in my state, right? So they can run these ads. It's great. It's a great sugar high 24 hours after. But I guarantee you no one's running that ad in October because
I totally disagree with that. Let's clip the tape.
Yeah, we're going to see. But I think Democrats feel like at worst, this issue has been neutralized. And at best, the closing the southern border was the 2024 issue. Remember, I think it was the 18 midterms. the whole idea of the armada of people walking up to the border, and Republicans thought, this is it. We got them. Everyone's going to be outraged. Nobody cared when it came to voting. So, I mean, again, this to me is all about base motivation. There's some other issues we're going to get to that are pure base motivation. And we're going to transition to the next topic. And there you go, right? I mean, it's just, you're not talking the economy, and we're getting ready to go to war in the Middle East.
So can I just, I want to share you, because this, Dan just teed me up exactly perfectly to show.
You're
we
welcome.
played yesterday the CNN ad. I mean, excuse me, the CNN Insta poll. And again, the veracity of this poll is not what I'm trying to get at. I want to show you what's sort of what there. I mean, this is David Chalian, who literally is a mole of the Democratic Party. This is his analysis.
No, he's not, Sean. David is wonderful. Anyway,
go back and look at the 2012 convention and what he got caught doing with Ron. I mean,
2012.
I'm not going to relitigate David Chalian's political background, but he is not, his sort of shenanigans are well documented. Take a look at his analysis of what their data said at CNN.
And look at the growth President Trump made over the speech. So pre-speech, it was 54% of speech watchers said his policies will move the U.S. in the right direction. After the speech, that number goes up 10 percentage points. So Donald Trump made some progress with people watching the speech from their pre-speech expectations to what they saw in the speech itself. And that 64% number, that's pretty much in range across all of his State of the Union addresses. In his first term, last year, the joint session, that's about what we've seen. Is roughly 2/3 have walked away from his speeches thinking he's going to move it in the right direction.
So a lot of red meat for the base.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. If you're a Republican on the ballot in 2026, I think you leave this speech being as happy as you could possibly be, that he sort of stuck to the script on the economy, he gave red meat to the base on immigration, and they can leave the hall tonight and sort of take that out on the campaign trail.
Okay. I want to ask this, and I'll say
no. I was going
to go first, but I teed that up partly because of some of Dan's comments. Do you want to go first, Dan?
Oh, I mean, I was going to say, look, if you look at all the dial testing that was done of the State of the Union, for those who don't know, you literally give somebody a dial, and you're sitting in a room, and as Trump is talking, you turn it if what he's saying appeals to you, or the other direction if what he's saying, doesn't. You go back and look at when he talked about the economy. It was because he kept kind of, well, we have more work to do, but it's the golden age. It's great. Go under the hood and look at what matters most to voters. Here we are talking about immigration. There's nothing on the economy. It's amazing.
I just full disclosure before you jump in, Sean, this whole clip sort of had us going back and forth this morning, like to play it, to not. You have those numbers right there, but Dan pointed out, in our text chain that there were other numbers from that same study that showed that perhaps it wasn't as good for the president. I mean, there was, let's see, hold on, let me pull this up. 38% of viewers who were in this study said that what they saw, they were very positive on what they were seeing, but that's actually a lot lower than he's had before. And it's a lot lower than Joe Biden's speech, which scored at 41% in 2022, 2018. Trump scored at 48%. Barack Obama did the same score in 2010. So it's not, I mean, like it's clearly not black and white.
So I only went to Dan because he was laughing. And I wanted to give him a chance to explain. But part of the point is the following. Like, first of all, any Insta poll of that nature, there is no it's a joke. Like you're not using the sample size correctly. You're not going out there. And you don't have the time to do that. Okay. The key line to me was what Chalian said the takeaway was, quote, Republicans on the ballot are as happy as you can be. Okay. Mm-hmm. Look at Texas 9, that state Senate district that we talked about. What was the issue there? It was voter enthusiasm on the right. Democrats performed about where they should have performed. Republicans underperformed. You look at where Republicans are in all of these special elections. It's an enthusiasm problem, right? What happens in a midterm? A midterm is a base election. Where is this election going to happen? In a handful of states, Senate-wise, statewide, Maine, North Carolina, Ohio, just going through, and then in about 25 congressional districts that lean Republican. So if you are the White House or the RNC or the NRCC, your goal is to get the base plus jacked and get them out.
Yeah.
Full stop. That's it. So when people talk about independence, this is not a general election. This is a base plus election. Every midterm is. And so if you are the president and you hear a comment like that from somebody like Chalian that says Republicans are as happy as you can be, you hit a home run.
It's a good point, because like without the president on the ballot, like a lot of these people
This
don't
exactly
want to turn out, right? You got to
right.
turn them out.
This is a base turnout election. Every midterm is, and Republicans have seen the problem in all of these specials, which is an enthusiasm gap. Your goal was to jack these guys up, get them fired up about what the president's accomplishments were, his vision going forward, and the contrast that exists with Democrats, and he did it.
Sean, Dan, last word, and then we'll move on.
I mean, I just go back to Maine, right? Susan Collins said, "Get out." I mean, are they going to? Let me ask you this, Sean: are Republicans going to say, "Bring in the ICE raids in North Carolina"? Nope. There you go.
If you think that that's what we're campaigning on,
why go to the Texas special? There was two things they talked about: cultural issues, which was totally parochial, and the Latino Republicans who are horrified at immigration. So you are putting back in front of people a part of your coalition that is running. But I get it. And that's why Trump has a problem. You got to get the base. And, you know, we always say this: winning campaigns appeal to both. If you can't win one, you got to at least try to jack up the other. And that's what they're leaning into.
All right, let's move on to Iran. So Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner are in Geneva this morning. They're going to be meeting with one of the top folks in Iran for these negotiations. But it does seem like at this point, pretty much everyone in the administration thinks these talks are going to be a dud. Politico reports this morning that the White House thinks the politics, quote, the politics, would be better if Israel bombs Iran first so that Iran retaliates against U.S. assets in the region. And that gives the White House justification to get involved. Did I lose you guys?
You froze, but your voice kept going.
Okay, I was going to say,
yep,
my whole camera right now is frozen, so I'm just going to keep talking. So nothing is official, but there could still be a joint strike, it sounds like, with Israel and the United States. But the fact that they are now playing out, you know, the sequence suggests that we are pretty much almost there in terms of what's going to happen on the strike. And then I should also say that there are new reports that F-22s, these premier fighter jets, landed in Israel last night. So let's see. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. You don't bring up the politics in the Situation Room, right? As you said, Sean, but there are these side conversations happening. Just to start, is this your understanding of what they're thinking in terms of like how they handle the tricky politics of this? You're very close to the administration, especially on these types of issues. And do you think it would really help if Israel goes first and we get dragged in?
No, Iran would not go, "Oh, you dropped the first bomb, so we're coming after you." I mean, they know what inflicts the most pain is getting the U.S. But I'll just state this: I have a very counterintuitive belief in this. You talked about the politics. The president understands the politics of foreign intervention better than anyone. I mean, this is something that he has campaigned on since day one: the ending foreign wars, not starting them. I actually believe that if, again, go back to the essence of what Trump is all about, read the books, talk about the essence of a negotiating strategy. You ratchet it to 10 if your goal is to actually just get to 3 or 4, right? Because you want so they bring in the F-22s, they bring in the second carrier group. They've got Iran pretty spooked. And here's the deal. I am of the belief that this is part of the Trump negotiating strategy, which is he doesn't want to go to war. Okay. This is not something that he's made the case for. It is not something that and I think politically he understands this better than anybody. You got a bunch of hawks in that Situation Room that are like, here's what we need to do. Here's how we have to do it, blah, 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 blah. And his answer is, why can't Israel do it? Like, let them go bomb the crap out of them. Maybe we help supply them. I will tell you this. I think where everybody's misreading this is, again, they don't understand the essence of Trump. This is part of a greater negotiation. If at the end of today, they walk away with a piece of paper. Now, Dan and Democrats may say that piece of paper sucks, but remember the goal that Trump has he does not want to go into a midterm or anything with a foreign incursion hanging over his head. And if you understand that fundamentally, you'll believe that this is part of a greater negotiation to get Iran to acquiesce to some kind of, peace deal, nuclear deal. Again, I think Democrats will turn around and say, well, you had a deal and you blew it up. I mean, but that's a second piece of this. The broader piece is, I would not be surprised by the end of this weekend if you actually have a deal where Trump says, we have a 30-day deal. It's going to be treated like tariffs. Well, we're continuing to negotiate. I believe they're in good faith. But the folks that literally, he is intentionally creating a situation, not just for everyone else, but for the Iranians to believe that we're on the brink of war.
I mean, maybe. I think the only reason that I am suspect of that is the administration has begun to try to throw out different rationales. And I find, like, if you were truly not going to do this, you wouldn't start saying that the ballistic missile program is an imminent threat to the United States. You wouldn't say that they're on the cusp of nuclear weapons, because what's happening is, so the Wall Street Journal today editorializes, like, the president needs to address the country and tell everyone exactly why we need to do this. And the argument is basically that Iran is a menace to the region and they support terrorism. But I think what's fascinating is they're trying to sell this idea that they're almost about to get nuclear weapons. Sounds like Iraq. And then they're trying to say that ballistic missiles are a threat to us, but I mean, I guess technically they are, because they have them, but they're not threatening to shoot them at us. You have all sorts of people around the world who have who have ballistic missiles. Go see North Korea. We're not going in to take out Kim Jong-un, right? But I keep coming back to this. Israel wants to clean up their neighborhood. And I think you're right, Sean. He does not want to go to war. But you have so many assets now. Like, really, like, I don't think it would be a good look now if he's just like, oh yeah, we have a deal, we're waiting. I know what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying.
But just rewind the tape a second. What you just said. So. Okay, think about what you just said. He should do a joint address. He should have brought, like, he didn't. Okay, he had the biggest forum that he'll ever have to make the case for Iran, right?
Yeah.
Barely touched on it. This guy understands media and messaging better than anybody. And if he was going to do this, he'd say, guys, if we're going to do this, I got to get out and sell this. We got midterms coming up. We got to do this. And he's not. Why? Because I think I'm right. Because I believe this is not some guy in a vacuum that's walking out of the Situation Room and saying to the comms team, gosh, what do we think we do? Trump doesn't, like, that's his instinct. All right, if we're going to do this, then I need to do this, this, and this. I need to condition the country for this. I need to explain it. Caroline, I want you to go out and put a statement out. I want you to bring Marco to the briefing room. This guy gets it better than any staffer does. And so if this was the case, he would be doing all of those things. He doesn't need the Wall Street Journal editorial board to tell him what to do.
Any of this with Venezuela. He didn't
because
sell
he didn't
anybody.
need to. Because he didn't need to. Again, I think if it's a snatch and grab.
He didn't need to because it was a success. But I mean, I don't know, because his history is on this stuff, because I do think he's terrified of foreign intervention failure, is he doesn't sell it. It's the element of pinprick surprise. I'm in, I'm out, we won. I mean, I go back to the State of the Union. He keeps saying we obliterated Iran's nuclear weapon capability. And then in the next sentence, they're leaking out Iran's is on the verge of having a nuclear weapon, right? It's totally at odds with itself, but
not if you're trying to No, again, it goes back to what I'm saying. Not if you're trying to create the impression to Iran that we can take you out.
But okay, but Dan does have a point there in that, like, they said they obliterated everything, right? And then it was like they attacked reporters who suggested that actually they didn't, that some of the program remained, and now the program is continuing to build and it's a threat again. What happens if they actually obliterate it this time? What stops them from, just rebuilding it in like 6 months or 2 years or something like that? Like,
well, I mean, that's a whole different, because that's again, this is getting way in the weeds, but it's the access to the uranium to enrich it is the bigger, broader issue, right? I mean, they took out part of the capabilities before, right? So it's like taking out your stove so you can't cook, you still have the ingredients.
Well, they took out some of it. I mean, look, I think the broader point is, if Sean is right and this is all a bluff, then okay, you're right, art of the deal. But if we actually do anything, the risk is The country is not conditioned for why we're doing this. And I just think you're right, Sean. State of the Union, he blew past it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
All right. We will return to this, I'm sure, in a few days. Okay, let's talk about Epstein. So, a lot of people complaining.
Epstein.
Back here, domestic politics.
Welcome to the Trump show, everybody.
A lot of people have been complaining.
Maybe we throw the files on Iran.
Yeah.
We just take all the files and dump them on Iran.
Well, you know what, Sean? I think the way you regime change is you just put out all the mullahs had relations with Epstein and young women, and then, there you go.
Then the country is suddenly ready to go to war, and there's
Yeah.
your popular public shift. In all seriousness, so, a lot of people talking about how here in the U.S., we're just not holding folks accountable on the Epstein situation, comparing what's happening here to happening in other countries. But there are a number of big stories in the past 24 hours suggesting that that's not always the case, right? Larry Summers will apparently resign from teaching at Harvard. He had been on leave, like pending review. They announced that he's going to be out the door. He's basically gone for the rest of the school year, and then he's leaving at the end. The Oversight Committee, as we mentioned at the top, is going to be talking to Hillary Clinton. Lawmakers are in New York to do this closed-door deposition with her today. I believe the former president is tomorrow.
Correct.
So that is happening. You have Bill Gates, who apparently apologized to staff for his relationship with Epstein, admitted to having 2 affairs, and that this was terrible for the foundation and really, hurts their image. Dan, do you feel like we're starting to see a shift in accountability here, or is this all surface level stuff?
Well, no, I mean, a little bit. It's just the drip. I mean, the other part of this is the Department of Justice, after not saying anything last night, admitted that they redacted and withdrew the FBI's 3 interviews with a woman who made allegations against Trump. Look, do I think anything's going to come of it? I doubt it. But the point is, it just every time we think this issue's done, there's no more oxygen. There is. And I think, all these, and this is where it kind of comes to Trump and the Clintons too, is all these people whose names have been mentioned over the last few years said kind of, oh, there wasn't much. I had a business relationship. There was nothing to see here. And then we get, documents and files. And it's like, as you say, Bill Gates, this isn't an allegation. He said it, had an affair with 2 Russians, one a chess player, one he met at a science conference. And it's like, oops, I have to apologize.
Yeah,
and
well, that's all he's doing is apologizing. It's not very much.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Larry Summers, he's not just a professor, he's a former president of Harvard.
Right.
And so I think this issue, again, every time either the Democrats or Republicans think either we have an advantage or it's going away, it just comes back. I will say, I'd be really fascinated to see what Hillary does today. This is not her first rodeo. If you know her, if you remember Benghazi, she is not coming in on bended knee and, little sisters of the poor. She is going, I hope that those people, the House Republicans on the House Oversight Committee are prepared.
It's amazing.
It's a big boy, big girl time.
Can I say this just before I forget? Bill Clinton.
She relishes this.
Bill Clinton's the bended knee guy in that family.
Oh,
gosh. I was going to say, how many times has Hillary had to answer for Bill's promiscuities? It's just mind-boggling. You have to have a little. I know a lot of people don't like Hillary Clinton, but man, gosh, she must be pissed about this deposition. Do we think that leaks? Do we think
100%. 100% in real time.
I think in real time. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if reporters are up there, but apparently some reporters are up there because some lawmakers are going to come out and talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, of course.
So, but no, I want to go back to the Trump thing you were talking about, Dan, or the DOJ. This is making the rounds right now with the media. This notion that the DOJ is withholding the 302s interviews with this woman who alleges that the president sexually abused her when she was 13, in the early 1980s. Look, everybody's all for transparency, right? The president says there's nothing to this, right? He has maintained that the whole time. Just release it. You make it more of a story if you don't. But this woman also, there's a lot of credibility issues with her. If you go down that rabbit hole, apparently she said that Jeffrey Epstein had a house near her and sort of middle income America in South Carolina. There's no evidence that that ever happened. She said he abused her, but then couldn't identify him or something in a photo. She said that he drugged her and got her drunk as part of this effort to sexually abuse her. You know, people are saying online, like, that's not actually his MO. He doesn't actually do that. So it sounds like there's a lot of credibility issues with that. But of course, like releasing files, like withholding them, you make it a bigger story.
Well,
right?
and of course, how did people find out about it? It was the British media who then had metafiles. I mean, this is the problem is every time we think everything's out, every time we think this is the end of it, all these kind of, reporters, both kind of just Joe Schmo on the street and actual reporters digging through, keep discovering stuff. And we keep hearing, oh, by the way, there's 3 million more files. Oh, by the way, there were these interviews. Oh, by the way, there's, what is it, 1.5 million pages that aren't being released due to national security, but no one will say what the national security is. And so it just, again, it's a Democratic problem and a Republican problem that just isn't going away.
Are we still going to be talking about this, Sean, in October?
Ooh.
I think some people will be.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, again, there's so many distinctions in this whole case. I mean, just to riff off what Dan said at the end, I guess I've said this over and over again. I've had Jessica Reed Krause on the show. I've had Alan Dershowitz on the show. There is a lot of, their words, not mine, grifting when it comes to this case. People that made up allegations that were coerced into claiming things. And then there's a big pot of, like, everybody's talking about the accusers, right? And when you listen to people who've really gone down the rabbit holes in this case, there are actual victims, young women who are 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, who were trafficked, who were brought into stuff, who are not legally of age to make a decision, right? And then there are people that were part of the Ghislaine Maxwell mafia. And you, at some point as an adult, you make decisions, good, bad, otherwise. Those people are not victims. Like, and I think that there is a big difference when you actually start hearing people differentiate between all the parties involved. It's cool now to pile on, but I think that's number one. Number two, as I've said before, if you go look at what they're getting the Brits on, both Prince Andrew and Mandelson, it's state secrets. It's not their involvement in Andrew or women. It's actions that they took to divulge state secrets in violation of the trust of the government. What you're seeing in the U.S.
is divulging them to Epstein. I mean, just
correct.
To be clear. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And what you have in the U.S. is more on the corporate side, which is these people. It's an unseemly thing. It's not even, again, I don't follow the TikTok the way, but look at what some of these guys did. There is no evidence in many cases that they were with a underage girl, as far as I can see. It's the inappropriateness of being involved with Epstein or maintaining communications with him. Again, unseemly, not a crime.
Sure. Fair. Okay, let's move on to Republicans' MAHA anxieties. So we all know MAHA helped propel Republicans to victory in 2024. Now some people are worried, at least about a part of the MAHA agenda, and that is like the vaccine agenda. So this effort started a couple of weeks ago. You can go back and look at, RFK and that the Mike Tyson ad that they played on the Super Bowl, where they focused on food, not on vaccines, but on food, eating healthy, don't eat processed foods. There's been some news about staffing changes over at HHS, with the White House wanting to make sure certain people are in place to navigate tricky politics. There is, RFK, when he's out and talking about this issue, he's apparently talking more about food as opposed to vaccines. So I guess let's just start there, Sean. Like, what is what is the concern? Because for a long time, Dan was saying that he thought this was a strength of the Republican Party. Now there are Republicans who are worried, at least, about the vaccine.
I said the food was a strength. I was very clear. I thought the vaccines were a huge mistake. So
So I would say this: if you look at it like a reverse pyramid, right? The food, the ultra processed food, the red dyes, the wellness issues are a huge hit, unequivocal. And as you start to go down that pyramid, there are some people whom the vaccines writ large is a massive deal for. Childhood vaccine and that schedule of why we give 85 vaccines to kids day one. But as it narrows, particularly among women, there is concern in the White House. Now, I think this is like, to be honest with you, I think there's a bit of an overreaction from some of the political folks. But when you're that paranoid about, for rightly so, for keeping the majority, you're looking for everything. And the word that was kind of put out was, we're not giving up on anything. We just need to accentuate the good, the food, all that stuff, downplay the stuff that's not as popular, and get past November. So that at least is the working theory right now. Some people in Maha are willing to accept that if that's truly the deal, and some people believe that that's a total, cave to, the political gods. I will say this: I get the pragmatism of this, which is, hey, if we can't implement it all, then is it short-sighted to do this? But I think they've got to communicate a little bit more. I think the glyphosate ruling is a huge other one. I mean, that one is probably somewhere that the mainstream media just does not grab. That one is probably the biggest one within Maha that no one that's in the Beltway gets. The glyphosate issue and the competition between EPA and HHS to placate an industry versus deal with the Maha issue it's like the data center of Maha. Like, it's just so people don't understand the impact of that.
You mentioned the political concerns there. Tony Fabrizio himself, who's like one of the president's top pollsters, was one of the people advising them that they've got to sort of make these sorts of shifts. Dan, do you think they can disentangle these two things who have been sort of folded together, like just focus on the food and sort of quiet the vaccine piece? I mean, Democrats clearly are trying to play up the vaccine piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I always say this: Donald Trump's a great political athlete. Donald Trump reportedly called in people from HHS and expressed real frustration about the vaccines because he knows swing voters are repulsed by the vaccine conversation. The Wall Street Journal today all but says Casey Means should not be confirmed. Senator Kennedy was had a lot of questions because she would not answer directly on the measles vaccine. The measles vaccine for children. She would not answer directly. And I think the problem is you have this measles outbreak that has happened. I think this is the part of the Maha movement that is problematic. I've said it for months. I don't know if they can walk this tightrope. I just don't know how much longer you can keep trying to kind of keep the crazy parts piped down, because as Sean said, to the Kennedy world, this is your chance. Right? You are going for broke right now to do all of this. And I mean, Sean, do you think Casey Means gets confirmed?
I was just going to ask him that.
Because I don't think so.
I do.
I think Collins, Murkowski, Kennedy,
Cassidy.
Tillis, and McConnell.
What about Cassidy? What about Cassidy too?
Yeah, and Cassidy, sorry. Are going to be a no.
Pardon my language. Because like he's mad at the White House.
Yeah, when does she withdraw? Like on a Friday night? What happens? Because is Trump going to lean in with those non-answers? And again, who owns the Wall Street Journal? It's Rupert Murdoch. The New York Post didn't have great things to say either. Is he going to use capital to defend her?
I do think so. So okay. Keep in mind a couple things. One, I will say this. I know at least there are some, based on some of the things that she has said in the past, she's not like this is not. I'm trying to think there's a guy named Dr. Pond. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in the Maha movement, right? Who I think people would be going to the hills for. I don't think she's 100%, but her brother is a senior advisor at HHS. Previously was straddled this HHS White House role. He's got a lot of credibility inside the White House and access. I think that if Maha, it's one thing to tone down this. If Maha saw a scalp get taken, they'd have problems. And I think, I mean, look, let's be blunt at what the job is. The Surgeon General is not exactly at the forefront of policy, right? It's not, I'm not diminishing the role, but you've got, they're an assistant secretary level. So where this ranks, but I also don't think the administration wants to give up someone with that kind of name ID. It's not like people know her. She's very popular from her book. She's very popular with a lot of the folks. She's a female doctor that just had a baby. I mean, like, she speaks to a lot of the wellness stuff. I have a hard time thinking they'll give that up.
Okay.
All right, let's
It might be
move on.
50-50, Dan,
JD,
and
yeah.
JD breaking the vote, but I do think she gets over the fence.
Start a poly market. Okay, let's move on to this story about the FBI obtaining Kash Patel and Susie Wiles phone records during the Biden administration. This was in connection to the Mar-a-Lago probe of improperly stored classified documents. Apparently,
And January 6th. Yeah, it was both.
Oh, I
Yep.
thought it was. I thought this was specific about.
It was
it seems
both. It was both.
Okay, well, they got toll records. So the timing and receipt of the calls. The FBI sought records. This was 2022 and 2023. The fact though that got me like whoa was that apparently the FBI recorded a phone call between Wiles and her attorney knew about them recording this private call about this issue, but she did not. Is that like a regular practice? Because like that's her attorney. Like, is that her attorney like turning on her and like cooperating with the FBI? I don't know. Like, I was just like, whoa, that like if that happened to me, I'd be like, what the WTF?
I don't believe that's normal.
Look, you go back to they were both under the Jack Smith was investigating both January 6th, which Kash Patel has been tied up in or was tied up in, which was public record. Like people knew it. He was angry about it, but that was what Jack Smith was looking at. And then you have the classified document issue. And the question is really, I think, is not the facts of the case. The question more is, was it appropriate to go after a former president on this issue? Like, I think that is really where the kind of outrage is. Jack Smith was doing what he was tasked with doing. I think what's kind of so fascinating about this, and it's such a classic Trump, world trick, is Judge Cannon, Eileen Cannon in Florida, has said they will not release Jack Smith's report. Jack Smith has asked to release it. He wants it out there. So you don't allow the evidence and everything that he found to be put out to the public record, but you turn around and say it's outrageous and there was no basis for any of this, right? Well, you can't have it both ways. I mean, they'll try, but I laugh. To me, this was a red meat day after the State of the Union. Go back to what Sean said. You got to fire up the base. Nothing fires up the base more than the conspiracy theories of, the weaponization. And at the same time, they won't release the Jared Kushner stuff. They blocked it on executive privilege, which no one's ever heard of when it comes to a third party. Like, it makes no sense. And Judge Cannon won't let the evidence come out.
I just hello, attorney-client privilege. How does the government have the right to record your conversation with your lawyer? I just don't understand that. Okay, whatever. But Sean, is this all a pretext to? Maybe pretext isn't right. Are they building the case to prosecute Jack Smith? This is all moving toward that. Is that right?
I mean, I think there's a little of everything. One, which is to make sure, on a personal level, like I'd be pissed, right? So there's the personal piece of this. Like, what are you talking? Like I have the same reaction you do, which is you got to be kidding me. That's a sacred. I mean, you talk about democracy dying in darkness and all this crap that the Washington Post likes to throw at you. No outrage that an attorney-client call is captured, and no one thinks.
How is that possible? I don't know. Sorry.
Again, I'm not alone, but again, for everyone in the media who loves to focus entirely on the First Amendment and not worry about the other rights that we all have, that should be concerning. And so I think there's the personal, there's the politics, which is it gets the base fired up. Dan's shaking his head because he thinks only the First Amendment counts. And then there's the politics, getting the base to say this is what this government does. And then there's the actual, to your point, maybe the prosecution. So 3 Ps: personal, politics, and prosecution.
I'll say this: they will not go out. They will not get Jack Smith. It is 100% protocol to ask for phone records. And when the Trump White House asked for journalist phone records, it was they're following procedure. You got to follow the leads everywhere.
Oh, I was pretty outraged at that one too.
But this is what in the modern era. Look, I live in New York City. Okay, one of the biggest issues is all the people moving to Florida and Texas. What does the New York State Department of Revenue do to ensure that people aren't tax evading? They ask for your cell phone records. They subpoena them. And they look at where you were. Were you in New York when you said you were in Florida? Or were you here? And therefore, you're going to owe taxes. This is the way the world works now. So, I mean, just...
But what the key word you use, ask.
No, oh no. They subpoena. It's a rhetorical ask. You will give it, and if not, they'll subpoena you. I mean, so it's just to me, it's such. I marvel and I tip my hat at the way that the Trump world will take protocols and say utterly outrageous. Outrageous. How can you do this? And it's like, that's how the process works. It's amazing. It's amazing.
All right, we've got 10 minutes, guys. Let's take some questions. Okay, here we go. Democrats counter State of the Union frogs with frogs, giraffes, trans kids, and illegals. The show must go on. Did any of you guys watch any of that?
I saw a little bit of it, just actually from friends sending it. Look, it was silly. I mean, the concept was silly, the execution was silly, and the best thing that came of it was nothing. Like, other than a few people seeing this stuff, it's just the fringes being the fringe.
I literally caught like a clip online of a guy in a giraffe costume wearing a diaper bragging about being arrested by ICE twice a few days ago. And I was like, I just can't watch this.
I mean, look, can I say this to Dan, though? And you know this as well. Like that, yes, that didn't get a lot of attention on Tuesday night. But I have a feeling, talking about the contrast, that's going to continue like that I would not be surprised if that sort of imagery, et cetera, continues to play out between now and November, which is these are the clowns that want to be in charge.
That to me is a much more potent long-term ad.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, Sean.
Which is not just the visual of this, but some of the things that were said. I'm not going to highlight it for people to draw more attention, but was just ridiculous. And so I think that is more powerful than this, like, do they stand or do they not? But it'll be folded in. I agree. It was crazy.
You do the side by side. You do the State of the Union image, and then you flash to not afraid and campaign ads for Republicans.
Can I real quick? I just want to the one of the things that a lot of political conversations happen in a vacuum. What's Trump's number? How the Republicans doing? And I think one of the things that you're seeing both in the State of the Union and going forward is there's a recognition that elections are choices, and that part of the Republican strategy is going to say, you may not like us, but these guys are crazy. I mean, think about what the president did. They're crazy. They're unhinged. This is the clown show you're going to get. I mean, not serious. You're going to see this play out because the election isn't a referendum on Donald Trump. It's a choice. Do you want these guys in charge? And Republicans are like the brand of the Democratic Party is extremely low. I don't think anybody looks at the leadership, whether it's Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, as strong, mature individuals. Hater or lover, Nancy Pelosi was seen as a tough figure. I don't think people look at the current Democratic Party and find anybody appealing. And so Republicans would be smart to make sure that this is a big, big contrast. And every single rank and file member has to answer for it. You know, do you want that clown running, part of the government?
The question is whether they can convince voters that, because a lot of voters, they're looking at this as a referendum on Trump. But you're right. The contrast, the choice, that is the best strategy for Republicans.
Compare me to the alternative, not the almighty. It's the famous Joe Biden line. Yep.
Let's take another question.
Also,
okay.
Hey, Jack.
Super chat. Is Sean saying Midnight Hammer was a flop?
What is Midnight? Oh, was that the Iran?
Yeah, it was the strike
Iran
in the summer. Mm-hmm.
Yes. It wasn't a flop. It just wasn't a smashing. It set him back 6-9 months. That's it.
Well, and again, I think part of this is when you have a mission, what is the goal of the mission? Is take out an asset, destroy their capabilities. And the beauty of being in charge is that to some degree, after action, you get to decide that. And I'm being serious when I say this, which is,
of course,
when you're the boss, you get to say, well, we were only trying to do X, right? And I think the question and the problem with what happened there is that to some degree, we never know, right? When it's a classified mission, you're never going to fully know because there's uranium and then there's the enrichment capabilities. And so if you said, well, we took out, 90% of their capabilities, what we're doing now is taking out the other 10 and going after, you can always nuance this politically.
Well,
I don't know. I think if you're explaining like that, you're just losing. They just wanted to do a they just wanted to take out certain weapons last time, but now they're going to go for the other weapons, like as if they weren't going to try to get both of
No,
them.
it's the
hold on a
capabilities.
second.
Tough to I think it's really tough to message.
Thank goodness one of us remembers. Remember, the initial Pentagon assessment was we did not obliterate it. It was not as impactful as the president was saying. And Pete Hegseth and the administration went ape blank that was not true. We obliterated it. Caroline Leavitt went to the podium. So, I mean, this example 8,000 of the Trump administration just completely exaggerating themselves. And now they are caught because the other night, we obliterated it. The next day, we need to deal with it.
Yeah. Let's take another.
The one upside is, honestly, so few people are paying attention to Iran. The first thing, I mean, it was the upside is, if you're going to have an issue that you don't have to explain as much, have one that no one's really paying attention to.
Bumps Johnson has a question for us. For Dan. What's been the most self-defeating strategy taken against Trump? The political prosecutions, the impeachment, the State of the Union performances, BLM? ?
Oh boy. I mean, Bumps, there's a long list of things that have been self-defeat. I think fundamentally the most self-defeating thing has been that for a huge part of our party, they still have not asked themselves, why is Trump popular and successful? Yeah. They think it's a fever that will break and we will go back to, kind of normal, so to speak. And they just cannot bring themselves to respect the answer that tens of millions of people would give them.
Yeah.
That's the biggest fundamental problem.
Let's take another one. Question. How successful is the Dem government shutdown?
The what?
Like we've all forgotten about it. Like,
yeah, Schumer shutdown.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's like a lot of these things. You got to see how the play ends. Right now, no one seems to be paying a price. Sean said it. If there's a terrorist attack and DHS, isn't funded, it will be a huge problem for Democrats. I don't know. I mean, guys, what do you think in terms of when this ends? You think we go another 30 days or?
The fact that we're not talking about it.
I mean, yeah, we're not talking about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
We may go to war with Iran and DHS is shut down.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I will say this again, just sort of as, more for my Coast Guard brethren. One of the things that when you're operating the way that the military has to operate under certain restrictions, where there's a continuing resolution, a shutdown, you are very restricted. The Coast Guard plays a key in drug interdiction. The reserve and the auxiliary are massive components of our Coast Guard, especially as we get towards the summer season. I know that for a lot of people, they're not going to see the impact of that, but this gets back to the small things that could get through, the things that won't happen. Especially as it gets warmer, there's a lot of people, and I do think there's a distinction, because we look at stuff and say, well, there's not going to miss a paycheck. If you're making 50, 70, 80 grand and you got a family and you don't know when the next one's coming, that's a problem. And we forget the anxiety that people who, I traveled this week, obviously out to Vegas, the complete debacle about whether TSA was shut or not shut. I left it screwed up my day. And then on the way home, I'm sitting there watching these workers. They're not getting paid. Now they'll get a paycheck this time and then a partial one. But if you got a family or rent to pay, you're working, 8 hours a day. When are you going to go to the credit union and get your line of credit? And what documentation do you have to get? And it's a pain in the butt. And how many times do you want to deal with that? I only say this because I think we're not seeing it. We've conditioned this country based on a lot of the things not to have to deal with a lot of the shutdown, which is a good thing in a way. But for the people who have to do it, that are serving, it's a pain in the ass. It's not a good thing.
Yeah, I've definitely talked to employees who work paycheck to paycheck, who support their families. Like, I have sources who have been in this situation where it's just literally meeting them for coffee and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. We can't give in as a Republicans, but then I literally am worried about paying my, it's not a good, and it's going to be a regular thing. I've written about this before for my newsletter. the 180 the Democratic Party has done on shutdown politics and seeing it as something that
By the way, if you
elevates their
think this is
issue.
bad, can you imagine if Dems take over the House of the Senate? I honestly could
We're
see
gonna
us
have shutdowns all the time.
all the time of epic
Oh, I don't think there
proportions.
will be.
But I'm saying I think
don't
it doesn't
think so.
matter which party is like. I think
I agree.
I think this is going to be the new thing. Like when the shoe is on the other foot, Republicans now are going to be like, "What? We have an issue.
Well,
Like,
it's
why should
all
we go
about
along?"
leverage. It's all about leverage. And I look, it's been going on. I mean, Democrats would always say, like, every time we have Republican, up until recently, that was the Democratic complaint, right? Republicans would dig in when there's a Democratic president on some issues, and then the same issues they would turn around and act like they didn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're right. It's been going on, and Democrats have started playing the same game.
All right, guys, we are at 9:30. Sean, Thursday panel today.
Wow, look at this. We've conditioned everybody. It's a Thursday panel. Rich Lowry from National Review, Sarah Gonzalez from The Blaze, and Reagan Reese. So all very far leftists are gonna. I'm kidding. That's the ultimate right wing panel today to give us.
Reagan just interviewed James Blair. She just did a podcast with him, I think, yesterday. Maybe I'm.
Thank you. Well, look at that. Rachael Bade giving me the hookup.
There you go.
I owe you a scoop for the Rachael Bade newsletter now. But
There you go.
Yeah,
Send it over.
I'll actually ask Reagan about what Blair's take on stuff is.
Yeah,
I love it.
All right, guys. Well, we will be back tomorrow at 8:30. Thanks for joining us.
You bet.